What do a lot of parents do that unknowingly screws their children over? Not apologize when they're wrong. I've never heard my mum apologize to me ever. She said many hurtful things to me in the past that I've never let go of, because she never came to apologize for any of the things she said. If she had simply apologized and admitted that what she said was wrong and hurtful, I think that things between us would be so much better. Not respecting their privacy because it's their home, barging into their room, asking them to leave the door open, etc. It gives kids anxiety, and it lasts. I moved to my own place, and sometimes I still look at the door expecting it to open, etc. Forgetting what it was like to be that age, and expecting their kids to react differently to things than them when they were that age. Drove me nuts when my mom did that. She'd scream, "Act your age at the top of your lungs," and in my head, I'd be like, I'm 12. If I acted my age, we would both be screaming right now, "You act your age." Comparing them with other kids. This messed me up so bad. My mom was always comparing me unfavorably to my cousin Sarah. I remember my grandmother was in the hospital, and she always needed one of her grandkids by her side to translate. One day my mom told me to go stay with grandma, and I said, I'd already spent a whole night with her. Why couldn't Sarah have a turn? She said, well, Sarah is clever enough that she probably got her time out the way. Her mom said, she can't do it, so you'll have to. Later I found out Sarah hadn't stayed with grandma at all. When I told my mom, she said, well, Sarah was clever enough to get out of it. You weren't. You have to be smarter. I wanted to smack her, like no matter what Sarah did and what I did, it was twisted as Sarah is the clever one. When I brought it up to my mom, many years later, she said she just wanted me to feel competitive with Sarah. All she did was make me feel terrible. Add to this, pitting siblings against one another. My sister fell for it really bad. I'm 22 now and she's 25. She still lives with my parents. I have no particular affection towards the three of them, but I am still grateful to my father for providing. Less said about the parenting the better. My sister has always been super competitive with me, for no apparent reason. Everything has always been a challenge, a race or a fight. Somewhere around 14 to 15 I realized that grades don't matter. No matter what I do, my parents and sister would still be miserable. So I just kind of stopped giving them any attention at all. Try to fill every minute with organized activities, such as traveling, sports leagues. Don't get me wrong, some extracurricular activities are good. But when your kids never have an unaccounted for minute, I think it has a negative impact. Not encouraging them to learn basic skills like cooking for fear it'll make a mess might sound a little contradictory, but either not disciplining them or disciplining them way too much, forgetting that a kid's brain isn't fully developed like their own. Also, shaming in any way of something your kid is into. Trying to learn about it is actually quite helpful and a good way to connect, and parents can learn things that they like too. I didn't know I liked Pierce the Veil until my 12-year-old liked them, and I wanted to check them out. Also, shaming your kids' interests is a great way to ensure they won't come to you with problems. If you want your kid to be open, you can't punish openness even if it is awkward or weird to you. When I was a kid, my dad would literally shame me for wanting to play video games. He would also shame me for wanting to spike my hair, like a lot of early OOS preppy boys, men did, saying it looked like I wanted to put whale semen in my hair. He would shame me for wanting to wear Panama Jack necklaces. He would shame me for turning down opportunities to lose my virginity when I was only 12. I got older. He shamed me for wanting to go to college instead of the Navy. He shamed me because I stopped believing in God. He shamed me because I voted for Obama. He shamed me for choosing to become an ally for people of color, as well as the LGBTQIA+ community. He criticized me for wanting to treat women as equals and not as objects for intimacy. I just wanted to be left alone and do my own thing. These days, I'm 35, married, father to 2 girls and 1 boy. I try to still dress up nice and look good for my wife, and even though my hair and beard are mostly grey, I still spike my hair when I can. I play a ton of PlayStation when I have free time. I've got my own house with a guest house and a big backyard. Dad lives in a double-wide trailer. Yeah, I did end up losing my virginity at 12 when he talked my best friend's 18-year-old sister into seducing me. Yeah, not cool. No, I'm not proud of that either. I went to college anyway, still an atheist, still vote against the GOP, still a strong ally, and still respect my wife for being the smartest, hardest working woman I know, and all that nonsense. My dad filled my head with ends with me. My children deserve better and will be taught as such. Negative experiences and knowledge die with me. Sorry for the rant. They fail at letting their kids fail and figure out how to recover. It prevents the kids from becoming resilient. My son once procrastinated until a major project was due the next day, and he hadn't even started it. I helped for a bit, then went to bed, left him to it thinking it would teach him a lesson. Well, it did, just not the one I wanted. The little rascal got on her and then bragged about how great he was for getting it done last minute. Said the other kids were losers for wasting time. He was 9. I'm still mad at that teacher. The project was crap. Over-sheltering them. You can't protect your kids 24/7 for their whole lives. It leads to naive adults that get taken advantage of. Forcing them to hug people, friends or family members, when they say they don't want to. All you're teaching them is to put other people's feelings above their own discomfort. Bonus points for guilt trips. Well, if I don't get a hug, then I won't give you this toy I bought for you. Please don't teach my child to give physical affection in exchange for gifts. I was raised this way and was such a people pleaser. I would make my life as difficult as possible to make sure I don't inconvenience a soul. It's a lot of work to unlearn it. Not discussing money with them. I'm not saying parents should dump their financial stress on their kids, but things like budgeting, taxes, and personal finance discussions would have helped me tremendously. I heard a father talking to his small daughter, between 6 to 8 years old, about budgeting. We were in a bookstore and she wanted to buy a book. He told her that she could buy any book she wanted, but that she had to keep in mind how much money she was allowed during their vacation. He went through the math with her. He discussed possibilities of other purchases later on during their trip. He continuously reminded her that it was her money and she could use it however she liked, but to remember how much total money she had. He was so patient, gentle, and real with her. It was an awesome learning experience for me, especially since I have a baby. My mom always said that we didn't have enough money. She would hoard it in a sock and is just stingy all around. Definitely want to break that cycle with my child. I was raised with the motto, if you lose, you can't come home. My great-grandfather said it to my grandmother when she was being bullied by a boy. My grandmother said it to my mother when she ran in the house from a girl who was beating her up, kicked her out and locked the door. If you lose, you can't come home. For me, there was no one incident. It was just a mantra, and now I am absolutely afraid of failure of any sort. I come to work hours early to prepare and stay late to make sure I've got it right. Same with my hobbies and every part of my life. I cannot be bad at anything. Free time only exists as practice or study, training time. The amount of pressure I put on myself is not healthy. I'm 38 years old, and I haven't spoken to my mother in 10+ years, but I almost always win, and I'm incredibly amazing at the things that I do. Small consolation. Parents mess us up, man. Telling them that's nothing to be sad over. Some kids don't even have. Now I repress my feelings and cry whenever I have to let them out, never believing they're valid. Forcing them to interact with their adult friends, and then ridiculing them for not wanting to socialize with rondo adults, and then humiliating them by bringing up an embarrassing moment as a hilarious anecdote. Come on down and say hi. Oh, look who finally decided to join us. Oh, this is the funniest thing. Did you know she still wet her bed until she was 6? 6, haha. I'll add my 2 cents here. Not seeking therapy for kids who are showing signs of depression or other mental issues because they think they are just a little sad or he'll get over it. I asked my parents why they ignored me telling them. I had stomach aches every single day, 4 years as a kid. They laughed and said, oh, we thought it was just anxiety. And I still wonder why they thought it was okay for a 5-year-old to have anxiety. Realized 20 years later, I had a dairy intolerance, and it was the huge glass of milk they made me drink every single morning. They also managed to completely miss some pretty worrying OCD-like behaviors and chalk them down to me being a bit weird. Yelling at them for dropping, breaking, spilling stuff, not their fault, and way to teach them they can't come to you when they accidentally screw things up in the future. Not taking the time to explain themselves on certain topics. The whole do as I say, because I said so, or because I had you is not effective. Not letting them learn how to mourn on a grander scale. There's this idea of not letting your children suffer. We all know it's important to let them struggle a little to learn how to cope. But one no one ever talks about is allowing your child to mourn a loss. If a beloved toy breaks, go buy a replacement ASAP. If a pet fish dies, go buy a replacement ASAP. You're teaching the kid to just replace things they've lost instead of processing the loss. So what happens when they lose something that can't be replaced? They don't know what to do or how to handle it. Like, let your kid cry over their dead fish for a few days and bury it in the garden with some flowers before asking if they'd like another. People think it's small. Oh, it's just a toy. But losing a beloved toy is likely the closest thing a kid has to losing a person or a pet. They've had 4 years like a dog. Let them learn to mourn their lost teddy bear, so they'll build those processes and when older can mourn the family dog, etc. Share in the comments stories of how parents unknowingly harm their children. Check out our other videos, and thanks for watching.